Hello and welcome to LFC Focus. So Liverpool are taking on Burnley at Anfield this weekend in the Premier League in what is now starting to become what looks like it's actually a must-win game, because with the results that Liverpool have had over the past few days with the loss against Manchester City and the draw against Sevilla, I think the worry that our season may be starting to get slightly derailed after what was a very promising start in August is starting to become a little bit more prominent in the minds of Liverpool fans. And I think what we really need is a positive result, a comfortable result as well, to calm all of our nerves and prove to us that maybe those two results were just a little bit of a blip, a bad week. You know, we dismissed the Man City result as a write-off because of the Mane red card. We can slightly dismiss the Sevilla result because Liverpool did play very well in that game and it was just a few individual errors that led to us getting a draw. But if Liverpool don't get a good result in this game, then that starts to become a bit less applicable, and I think we do start to get a little bit worried that our season has just gone completely off the rails. And obviously with it being against Burnley, it will be hard to excuse anything other than a win in this game, because it simply is a game that Liverpool should win. And also, if Liverpool do want to keep the pace with the top of the Premier League and at least have a go at challenging for the Premier League title, then this is also a must-win game because of that as well, because we're already 3 points off the pace at the moment, and I don't think we can afford to go any further back than that, because while I think maybe it's a slight step too far to say that Liverpool should make a serious challenge for the title this season, especially if we progress in the Champions League and the other domestic tournaments as well. I think with the squad that we've got at the moment, that might be slightly too big an ask. I think we should certainly be looking to cement our place in the top four and get a slightly more comfortable Champions League place finish than we did at the end of last season, and as a result also at least put ourselves in the conversation for the title race and prove that we are back amongst the very top of the Premier League's elite. So the big talking point going into this game is how Liverpool will replace Sadio Mane, because he is obviously missing for our next 3 domestic matches, and it will be a huge problem for Liverpool because he is a massive hole to fill. Sadio Mane has been one of our best players so far this season, and he is to a certain extent irreplaceable, but I am going to have a go at saying how that we can replace the irreplaceable man here, and I'm going to give maybe 3 options as to what I think Liverpool could do. So first of all, I think a lot of people are saying that we could put Oxlade-Chamberlain there, which the positives of that are the fact that he's played there for Arsenal. You know, he played there an awful lot, and I think that's where he made his name, really, playing as a winger. So while he does want to play as a centre mid at Liverpool, and I think that's where he sees his career long term as a footballer, we know that he can do a job at left wing, and so it hopefully wouldn't disrupt the team too much. While it is, I think it's safe to say, a drop in quality, Oxlade-Chamberlain is simply not as good as Sadio Mane at the moment. It hopefully wouldn't disrupt too much with regards to the system that the team plays and how they play. We know that Oxlade-Chamberlain, he won't look to cut inside too much. He won't mind getting out wide, getting some crosses in, and at least doing a bit of a mini Mane kind of job there. But the main issue with Oxlade-Chamberlain for me is that, like I said, he's simply not as good at Sadio Mane at the moment, and I think he's not quite at the level where you'd want him to be starting for Liverpool at the moment. He is still really an Arsenal footballer. You know, even though we haven't seen much of him at Liverpool, from what you've seen in substitution appearances and from him playing for England during the international break, he still looks like an Arsenal player. And I think Liverpool need to try and just deprogram that out of him effectively and just make him a Jurgen Klopp footballer. And that is going to take time. Like I said when he signed, I don't think we can really judge Oxlade-Chamberlain until January. So to be throwing him in and telling him to play such an important role in the team when he isn't really adapted to our system and our style of play yet would be a massive risk for me. So the other option is to potentially put Phil Coutinho in at left wing, because that's where he mostly played last season. So we certainly know that Phil Coutinho can do a job there. It would effectively be telling the entire squad to play how they did last season, because then you'd have Salah on the right wing basically doing the Sadio Mane role from the season before this one. And also Phil Coutinho is a very good footballer. I mean, it solves the whole issue with Oxlade-Chamberlain of it being a step down in terms of quality to put him in instead of Mane. Phil Coutinho is very good. Is probably around about the same level of Mane at the moment, either nearly a world-class footballer or just about a world-class footballer at the moment, and he does absolutely have the capacity to change games. And so I think whether or not we see Phil Coutinho at left wing, I certainly think he starts this game, but the main issue for me is that if he does play that role, he's not Sadio Mane at the end of the day. And while Oxlade-Chamberlain could maybe get away with doing a Mane tribute act and trying to do the same things that Sadio Mane does for Liverpool, Philippe Coutinho simply isn't able to do that. He's not going to burst away from people with his pace. He's not going to try and go outside and whip in crosses or anything. We know that he likes to get into the box. He likes to dribble. He likes tight spaces, passing the ball and cutting inside and shooting on his right foot as well. So I think there's also the same issue there, that it would disrupt the way Liverpool play, because the main issue we have is that we simply don't have another player like Sadio Mane, apart from maybe Mohamed Salah, who's going to be on the pitch already, to fill those boots. And the other way that I think Liverpool could approach it, slightly more radical this one, and I'm not entirely sure that Jurgen Klopp would maybe even consider this as an option, but I think it's entirely possible that Liverpool could look at playing a 4-4-2 diamond in this game, because we saw this at the back end of last season, and it certainly worked very well when breaking down teams that look to sit back and defend an awful lot, and I think it's safe to say that is what Burnley will look to do. So I think Liverpool could go for that 4-4-2 diamond with, say, Firmino and Sturridge up front, Mohamed Salah playing in the number 10. Obviously he's a winger by trade, but he played in the number 10 role an awful lot for Roma last season, and then putting Phil Coutinho in that number 8 role in midfield with, I think, maybe Emre Can and Jordan Henderson fulfilling those other roles in the midfield. And I think that would certainly potentially work. I mean, last season with Chelsea, we saw what happened when they started to dip in form in September. Antonio Conte did go for a radical change in formation and a radical change in style, and it worked very well for them. But the issue for it with me is that I just think with Sadio Mane only banned for 3 games, it's a slightly interesting move to change your entire setup, change your entire system just for those few games, because while, like I said, it worked for Chelsea, they were then doing that with a view to playing it for the rest of the season. And I think once Sadio Mane comes back, whatever Liverpool do to combat the fact that Sadio Mane's missing will just be thrown completely out the window once Mane's back, and we'll go back to what we had before. So while I think the 4-4-2 diamond would be very interesting, and personally I'd quite like to see it because I think it would be a good way of breaking down Burnley, I'm not sure Jurgen Klopp will go for it for those reasons. So all things considered, I think what we'll probably end up going with is Phil Coutinho out on that left wing, because the issue with the Oxlade-Chamberlain thing for me is that if Oxlade-Chamberlain, if he does play left wing, I think you still want to put Phil Coutinho on the pitch, even if it is in that withdrawn role where, personally, I think he's a little bit better. But I think under the circumstances, it makes sense to play him in that left wing role with the absence of Sadio Mane. And I think if you put Oxlade-Chamberlain at left wing and then you put Phil Coutinho at midfield, you're starting to change an awful lot of players in your starting 11. And I think if we want to avoid the Mane issue having too much of an impact on how we play, then you really just want to change one player in your lineup and keep everything else as it is. So I think Liverpool will go with Phil Coutinho at left wing for this game. As for the rest of the lineup, I think it's Mignolet in goal. No real surprises there. Obviously, Karius played the other night against Sevilla, but it seems that he is the cup keeper. Mignolet is the lead goalkeeper for now, so no real surprise there. Matip and Lovren, I think, will be the centre-backs. Personally, I don't really want to see Dejan Lovren again for a while after what he did against Sevilla with the whole not kicking the football act that he was doing, but I just don't see Jurgen Klopp trying to shake things too much after that. He certainly doesn't seem to be too much of a reactionary manager when it comes to individual errors. He tends to trust his players to pick themselves back up off the floor after making mistakes. Personally, I'd quite like to see Joe Gomez at centre-back in this game. I think that would be fairly interesting, because while he's filling in at that right-back role at the moment, between him and Trent Alexander-Arnold, while Nathaniel Clyne's still injured, Joe Gomez still, I think, has a long-term future at centre-back for Liverpool, and with our issues in that area of the pitch, it does kind of make sense to maybe give him a few minutes there and just see how he does. And also, I think that Alexander-Arnold will probably play right-back in this game, so there is a space open for Joe Gomez to play at centre-back, but I'm not sure Jurgen Klopp will do that, because like I said, I think he's the kind of man who would stick with Dejan Lovren, even though he made those mistakes in this game against Sevilla. Then at left back, I think it's going to be Andrew Robertson, because the only time we've seen him so far this season was against Crystal Palace at Anfield, and Burnley at Anfield, it is kind of a similar game to that really, so no surprise there. And I think with Moreno having played the last 2 games, you want to rest him as well. The midfield for me is Henderson, Emre Can and Jorginho Wijnaldum, keeping what we've got, not changing too much. And then the front 3, obviously Coutinho, Firmino and Mohamed Salah. So taking a look at Burnley then, I mean, so far this season, they've had a fairly mixed bag of results. I mean, they obviously got the win against Chelsea, but the main conversation about that was how Chelsea had a very weird start to the game and just seemed to be off the pace at the start. They got a good result against Spurs at Wembley as well, but then the conversation about that was just about Spurs rather than being about Burnley. Once again, it was all about the Wembley curse and everything. And then apart from that, I mean, they won in the League Cup, they lost to West Brom, and then they beat Crystal Palace. So it's been a fairly mixed bag for Burnley so far. I mean, there doesn't seem to be anything that new about them. They are pretty much the same process prospect that I think they have been in the past, so we can't really expect too many surprises from Burnley. For me, the most important thing is that Liverpool get the first goal in this game, because we saw what happened when Burnley went 1-0 up against Crystal Palace, which interestingly was from a single defensive error. Looking at you, Dejan Lovren. But they went 1-0 up because of that, and even though there was basically 90 minutes still to play left of the game, they immediately went to look to park the bus, to sit back and defend the lead they already had. And while I think Liverpool have got what it takes to break down Burnley, if Burnley take the lead at any point in the game and start to really park the bus and look to defend that lead, then I think Liverpool will struggle to go against that. So the most important thing for me is making sure that we do get the first goal and we don't let Burnley go in front at any point in this game. So I am fairly optimistic going into this match. Like I said, I think Liverpool have got what it takes to beat Burnley, even if they do start doing the low block defensive kind of thing. So here are my 3 reasons why I think we will beat Burnley on Saturday. So first of all, and it sounds obvious this one, but Liverpool are simply a better football team than Burnley, and you shouldn't let recent results fool you about that. Obviously, we had the loss against Man City and we had the draw against Sevilla, but like I said earlier on in the video, Liverpool had a very good start to the season before that and looked like they were really getting some momentum together. And I think if we came off the back of those games in August into this game against Burnley, we wouldn't really have any worries at all. I think we'd all be very confident that Liverpool could win the match. And I think over 90 minutes, provided Liverpool play to the best of their ability, I think our quality should simply allow us to get the better of Burnley. Even though they'll do that low block, I think we've moved on a little bit from last season now, and we should be able to get a decent result against teams that play that style. And second of all, I think Roberto Firmino will be hugely important for Liverpool in this game, because he's been very good for us so far this season. Like I said in the post-match game against Sevilla, he's been my favourite player so far this season, really. He gives his all in every game. He's so important to us with the way he plays as well. And if Burnley, like I said, do start to do that part the bus kind of thing, Firmino will be important for us in that he finds those pockets of spaces, he picks passes very well, he's very good on the ball, and he seems to have improved his finishing as well. So while maybe last season, if Firmino had got one chance to score in a game, by and large he would have missed it, I think if he gets one chance to score against Burnley, I'd now back him to actually score the goals. So I think Firmino will be very, very important for Liverpool in this game. And finally, I used this reason for the game against Sevilla as well, and it kind of came to fruition, I guess. I think Liverpool simply will be looking to get a response after the game against Sevilla. We did that going into the one against Sevilla after the Man City game. We were trying to prove that that Man City result was simply a blip and that that performance was not a true reflection of how Liverpool play, and we kind of had that against Sevilla because we played so much better than we did against Man City. And I think the fact that Liverpool did play well against Sevilla and didn't get the result will have got the players annoyed. It will have frustrated them because they know that that result was not a true reflection of how we played during that match. So hopefully, provided that they're mentally strong and they know what they're about, they'll go into this game and look to get a result to prove that this Liverpool team are very, very good at football. So that is all for today's video. Thank you very, very much for watching. I'll be back very soon with the FIFA 17 prediction show after this video, so stay tuned for that. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, hit the button there. Don't forget to check out some of the other videos as well. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Follow at LFC Focus TV on Twitter as well, and I'll see you in a bit. Bye for now.